Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick overview and review of this thing here. This is the Eachine CVATAR. Not sure exactly how you pronounce it, but this is one that's been sat on my bench for a week or two. I thought it's about time that I actually did the review. Now, it's a very similar kind of ducted fan as a lot of other models that I've already looked at on the channel. And if you want to pop your GoPro on the front, it's a great way to fly around. The enclosed props makes it a lot safer than the exposed props. And this one in particular is one of those that has all of the kind of squishy foam around the outside, so it will bounce off stuff. There are a number of disadvantages with this kind of model. The primary one being the noise. They are incredibly noisy when you fly them. So if you want to fly somewhere nice and get some cinematic footage, but not alert everybody in the entire area that you're actually flying, this probably isn't the model for you. But in this one, I'm going to do my standard stuff. Let me unbox it, go through the specs, Betaflight setup, then I'll take you flying and show you what the camera performance is like. And then I'll kind of do my summary at the end. Time codes below, let's unbox it. So while I unbox this thing, let me go through some of the specs. So again, this is the Eachine CVATAR, no idea. 142 Cinewhoop FPV racing drone. Net weight, they reckon, is 288.2 grams without receiver. However, here's the weight as it sits on the bench. The frame is 142mm wheelbase, top plate is 2 and bottom plate is 2mm. The top and bottom plate spacing is 25mm. It's going to support 3-inch props, and there's quite a bit of TPU PLA 3D printed stuff on here. The ESC is a 4-in-1 unit. It is a 35 amp 3 to 6S capable ESC. Video transmitter is an Eachine TXC23 VTX. Output powers everything from pit mode up to a whopping 800 milliwatts if you're allowed to do that. MMCX connector, and you can talk to it using RC Tramp. And lots of spares in this box, and those are all the TPU bits that you can use for mounting your camera. I'll show those a little bit closer later up. The camera on this is a Runcam Nano 2, that's a 700 TVL line CMOS with a 2.1mm lens. Motors are 1507 3600 kV brushless motors, and the propellers are Gemfan 3-inch 3-bladed propellers, and you get 2 sets in the box. So it is a bit tricky to get the USB adapter that comes in the kit in position. You need that because the USB connector down the side is hidden away behind all of the ducts. So you need this little thing in place, and then you can plug it into Betaflight. So let me go through all the settings. As usual, I am going to do the dump and diff files in a link below so you can see how it's all set up. So let's click on connect, enable expert mode. There's stuff in the data flash. This is good. This means that this has been armed at some point, so there has been some testing before it left the factory. I like that. Loads and loads of ports. The only one really set up is for the RC Tramp for the VTX. Everything else is empty. Configuration looks like this. D-Shock 600, standard motor direction, 8K, 4K loop frequencies. CPU is really low, but that's because this is actually an F7 based flight controller, which is great. That's going to give lots of headroom for future updates and future versions of Betaflight. Everything's set up nicely. Power and battery look like that. Failsafe is set to drop. PID tuning looks like this. Again, this is a pretty up-to-date version of Betaflight and an F7 based flight controller, so well done Eachine. Just tweak a few things in the receiver so it's going to work my radio. The modes by default look like this, which is a little bit weird, so I'll move some of those things around. Definitely want an arming switch. These kind of things you tend to see fly around in angle mode most of the time anyway, but I will make sure that air mode is turned on for horizon if I want to go a bit quicker, and potentially put the beeper on as well so that I can make it make a noise if it comes down in long grass or gets stuck in the top of a tree or a hedge. On-screen display is going to need a little bit of work. This is a little bit cluttered, so I drag everything around. Do remember though that the camera is set to NTSC as it ships, so I would click on the video format thing in the top right hand corner just so you can drag everything into position. And then finally I went into CLI to get the dump and diff, and again links to those two below. So what's it like to fly? Well, this is the DVR footage from my Fat Shark HD02s. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what it's looking like. The feel of this model, because it is built very, very solidly, is very sedate. It doesn't feel like it has absolutely tons of power. Without an action camera, it's hovering over third throttle. With an action camera on it, it's hovering at over half throttle. Now, it is very scenic. The camera is putting lots of purple into what is a very golden field of corn. But in terms of the flying experience, it's not bad. You're going to get about 7.5 minutes out of a 1300 4S pack. If you add a heavy action camera, then it's going to be a lot less. But this is a very sedate, easy model to fly. It feels like Eachine have put a bit of effort into this, making sure that the controls are nice and neutral. The rates aren't particularly high, and it is very, very easy to fly, which I think means that this for me feels like it's aimed at a beginner. It's very difficult to get it going really quickly. There just isn't the power available on the model with the weight and the setup, even on 4S. And some of the other quads in this category that I've tried have had an awful lot more oomph. So there you go, that is the Eachine CVATAR. Still not sure how you pronounce that. Better name might have been a good idea, or one that I can pronounce anyway. The number of things that I like about this, first of all, is that it is built like a tank, literally. It's quite heavy, it's quite solid. These big bumpers all the way around it means that it bounces off stuff. It's hard to break it, and you have to work hard for it to break anything else. And that's handy if you are a relatively inexperienced pilot, or this is the first one that you want to have a crack at. I do like the fact that the action camera mounts are in the box. That does mean that you can easily mount your GoPro or your action camera, whatever you've got, your Insta360, at the front and get some fab footage. And there's some cute little touches from Eachine as well. This is one of the models that they've actually thought about. There are those spares in the box, and there's also little things like they've actually put some grippy stuff around the connector for the antenna. Now again, this is available in loads of different options. I just happen to get the analog one, and you could potentially, have a DJI system. There are the extra pieces in the box to allow you to mount that on, and for that it might be a great little model. There's a little list of things though that I'm not a fan of. First of all is how blooming tricky it is to get the USB adapter thing in so that you can connect it up to your computer and do your USB configuration via the Betaflight app. That is really finicky, and I was really scared of breaking the board off in the port. But that's one of the downsides of having something like this. All the other ones I've looked at have a similar kind of exciting process to get to the USB port. I don't like the fact that the props need installing from the factory. I think this is definitely something that I would suggest is aimed at the more inexperienced pilot, and making sure that you get the props on the right way round is part of the fun. The spare ducts are quite nice. It does mean that they're quite firm. I was worried that they felt quite flimsy in the unpacking, but actually when they're mounted inside all the other carbon pieces and the bumps and everything else, they're pretty solid. Access to the bind button isn't bad. It's kind of in there, but you have to really work at it to get to it. The bind button receiver and everything is powered when you plug it into USB, which is good. It means that you don't have to put the battery on. If you're a new pilot, I'd recommend the props being the very last thing that you do to the model. Once you're happy, you can arm it and you can run everything. The camera is, as you saw, really average. The colour of the corn that I was flying over is a beautiful golden colour. It's really bright. The trees are all changing. You couldn't see that. It looked like I was flying on a weird planet. And there isn't all the stuff in the box to change the settings of the camera. It also seems to lock to NTSC, which limits the number of rows you have for things like your on-screen display. The noise that it makes is just like all of the other ones that are around there. It is really, really noisy. Personally, when I'm flying stuff like this, I prefer exposed props. 4-inch models tend to be slightly better. But if you are looking for a model that is built like a tank, that is a little bit heavy and quite sedate to fly and quite forgiving, then this probably isn't a bad choice. If you've already had something like this and you're looking to move up and get something with more power and more capabilities, then this probably isn't the one for you. So overall, how many stars? Well, if you are in that beginner category, you want something built like a tank, you don't care about the fact that the FPV footage is going to be meh, and you're happy with the 7 minutes flight time, less if you have a really heavy camera on it, then this is not bad. So I'm going to give this about 4 out of 5. However, if you are not in all of those categories, it's more like a 3. Hopefully that helps those of you that have been looking at this. Thanks for watching, and as usual, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching my video and watching right to the very end. If you want to find out what I'm currently working on, you can follow me on social media by searching for Painless360 in the usual places. If you'd like to become part of the inner circle, then you can become a Patreon. Details are in the description and you get lots of additional benefits. Check out the playlist section on the channel too. I organise all of my videos into playlists and it's called something like Introduction to or for Beginners. All of the content is aimed so that you can start at the very beginning and it teaches you that subject, starting with simple principles and moving up to teach you everything you need to know.